Okay. Note to self, don't volunteer to go pick up your kids at SPAC after concert.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well,
the traffic must have been horrible.
it actually wasn't bad going in, but Walter said the traffic on the way up, because he dropped them off.
Trying to pick people up there, that's crazy.
We're good. Paul,
It was actually okay.
can I get you the computer to go on that chair over there?
You just parked
Just
on
give me a
50.
We got our first comment on YouTube that people couldn't hear our video in the A&D meeting perfectly. So I wonder if because I had my computer in front of the owl, it couldn't receive my volume.
Possibly.
Yeah. So I just commented back, here's the meeting minutes. So we're good.
Good morning, today, June 13th. This is the Troy Community Land Bank Executive Committee meeting. I'll start with the call to order. Bonnie Kuziewski.
Here.
Suzanne Spellin.
Here.
James Mayer here. Also is Brad Lewis and Paul Donovan. We'll start with, do we have meeting minutes, Brad?
We have them for May. So I have to do the January, February. Brian got behind and he asked me to do the committees for now on. And so I'm gonna actually do them as soon as this meeting's over. And I'll post the drafts. According to what I understood from the ABO meeting or discussion at the Land Bank Association, we're supposed to post drafts of our meetings within 14 days.
Okay.
And so Brian's doing the full board meetings, so he's been sending them out. And of course, I think I mentioned this to you, Jamie. The live stream can be the minutes, but it's more appropriate to have a resolution saying we don't do minutes except our live stream.
Okay.
But I don't see a need for that right now. Either way, we'll just keep doing the minutes. We'll just get them posted within 14 days. And I'll get the two drafts posted there. And if you guys approve the May meeting minutes, then I'll have them posted later today as well.
Okay. So then can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
I guess all in favor? Aye. The May minutes pass. So on to our discussion items. I'm gonna go with the facade.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, the point of the executive committee meeting is to sort of understand what we're gonna try to accomplish at the regular board meeting. There was 4 RFPs out for the facade program. It was actually really straightforward, like in the tunes of thousands of dollars less. The lowest bidder was thousands of dollars less than everybody else. And half of them wanted to actually more than half of them wanted to just do the whole project. So it was really, even when I sent it over to Katie Kemp, our attorney, she said, this looks pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward. So I'll send you guys the Excel document, but I think it's gonna be that one's gonna be pretty nice in terms of clear and cut. But she's working on I wish we had them executed the contracts, but she's working on AIA contracts, almost like a 3-way contract between us, the homeowner, and the contractor to perform the work. And then the contractor will provide additional insurance for us and the homeowner. She's working on those contracts. Once she gets them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, after the 4 are bidded out and started, then are we moving to the next group?
We could move to the next group as soon as we get approval from HCR.
You're still waiting on SHPO.
Well, we're not waiting on SHPO.
No, we just, regarding SHPO, we got approval for all remaining projects with the exception of one. And that just needs some additional information that'll be supplied to us from TAP.
Yeah.
So once I get that information, I can bring that over to SHPO and get that last project approved. But we're good there. But our plan is once we develop our own scope of work system for these remaining ones, we're going to ship that to ACR so that obviously we can get the approval for the actual funding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it gonna be another 4-4 or 4-3 or whatever?
How many? We have 2 approved that were tabled right now, right?
Yes.
On account of the nuance that we want to make sure we have enough funding for everything.
Correct.
But they're hoping to get a little more than we think that we can have funding for. So we're just waiting to see if our bids come back more competitive to allow more funding.
We have approval for funding on 7 of the
Okay.
13.
and 3 of them we're waiting on because of that. So there's 6 of them, you know, if 2 or 3 of them came back, we could RFP them right away. But
Absolutely,
we have to send them out to HDR to get approval.
correct.
All our 4 large projects?
Yeah,
RFPs
so-
went out?
No, not yet, but we have approval from HDR. We've met with the fire department, code, and walked through the properties to determine sprinkler systems, that sort of stuff. And I told the architects that we need the permit sets today. Like, we already have permit sets on 834 and 836.
Yep.
But 834, we needed to have it say sprinkler designed by others, or do the performance evaluation to show the point system, so.
But funding is approved.
Funding's approved, yes.
And that's for 871, the 2 River Street projects, and
33406.
3346,
Yeah, 2 family.
Gotcha.
834,
Gotcha.
836.
So they're 100% ready to go. So we can spend all our money in terms of that. We just need I told the architects today, because the goal would be to drop the RFP Monday.
Right.
If we drop it on Monday, then we're able to get it to come back before the next executive committee meeting, so that you guys will be able to like parse out everything and then make recommendations, or at least discuss at the board meeting
In
with
the
the
July
July knowledge. Yeah, July meeting. So that's the timeline that we'd like to see. And I prefer to get 871, 3340, and 834 bid out, because I have a suspicion 836 is gonna come back a little higher. It's just some of the details on it are a little harder, and it's right down to the studs, so we'll see. You know, want to bid all 4 so we know what we need for funding, if we have to do it again, if we have to go out to bid again, if our $1 million doesn't get all 4 done, we'll know.
And this gets them to the state of what?
Living, like renting or selling,
And our intention is to sell them?
you know, not 871. I think my intention is to move from here to there for us.
That's the corner one, right?
Yeah, in 834, I could argue to you guys that you could keep those 3 for rentals for the land bank to have some passive income or income in general. 3340, I think if I was to pick, I'd earmark it as owner occupied, can only buy it.
because that's a
And that's a
2-family.
two-family.
Yeah. Low AMI. I think it would be a nice mix of what we're doing, because we're doing so much with developers. Selling it to a landlord doesn't seem to like sprinkle all the different projects we could do.
That's a good move.
Yeah, the 2 families I would like to, if we can, earmark them for owner occupied.
Even
Yeah,
if we can combine them, maybe even reach out to Trip with their landlord programs they
Mhm.
have.
yeah,
I met with father and daughter. We showed them 3230 6th Avenue
yeah.
just a few days back. And I mean, they're like perfect candidates. She wants to live in 1 unit. She wants to rent a unit. And I'm saying to myself, this is who we want, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And I just felt really good about it. And I just told them,
Yeah.
you know, keep on the website, stay up there, you know, and, you know, look around, because, you know, we'll be putting things for sale in the near future.
Was someone like that, were they looking for more of a project, or would they be more geared towards?
They were interested in the project. Yeah, they were. And they showed up, you know, looking like they could do the job, you know, construction boots, et cetera. So,
Yeah, so,
Because it's good to have both. It's good to have
Oh,
somebody who
yeah.
wants nothing to do with doing the renovation, where they just want their first time home, one of the first time homeowners. And then if we can get them to people that want to owner occupy but can fulfill the work, that's awesome too. If we can pay both of them.
yeah, 836 right now is designed to be a legacy cities building, where it takes a 3-story building and gets 2 stories to a larger family style house, and then a studio and the extra unit. So it goes from 3 units to 2 units, but gives a larger space for one of the units to have. So
That's an owner occ too.
that could be, yeah, could be.
That's similar to what we did with Habitat on those
Yeah,
projects by Tina.
Yeah,
What is it, 1 and 2 become, like what's the breakdown? Oh, we don't know.
I think it's first and second floor is 1 unit, and then the 3rd floor is your tenant.
That's odd, but.
Well, I mean, somebody has to live on the 3rd floor.
Because if you're in your house, like, you don't want somebody on top of you.
No, I know,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
usually.
But you also don't wanna go
bottom.
upstairs. You don't wanna go to the 3rd floor.
Right, but normally, if you think about like a traditional urban, it would be the one down, like basement-ish almost.
Will be your rental?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
Separate entrance.
Well, if you
yes, you're
remember,
not sharing the main.
Yeah.
if you remember, these architectural plans were done, electrical was done and plumbing was done, and we just paid them $2,000 to
Yep.
tidy them up and get the plans ready for RFP.
Yeah.
But I
So
mean, if it's like for a family,
Yeah,
right, you know what I mean, like,
Sure.
versus,
you gotta think about the modern family, kids are staying longer, right?
Mm,
Like,
So the basement,
well,
Apartment is
into their
ideal.
30s sometimes,
Yeah.
right, like, just to get ahead, so,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a good situation for like, similar to like what you're talking about, or even.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe there's a group of people who, that was a big thing too, where they wanted to
Co-ops.
like co-ops.
yeah. I just read that, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Family in
Even
Boston.
there's a group of people, I'll keep it generic, that's been a very big conversation for the last decade in
Mhm.
Troy, is how to co-op and group buy a house.
mhm.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna see more of
one.
Yeah.
Especially with interest rates, affordability,
Mhm.
you know, people pulling money is just gonna be a matter of fact.
Right.
Yeah, the land bank got a call for a building we sold years ago, 103 Ferry Street. And of course, because it's a certain timeline, they gotta get approval from us to sell it again. And the two veterans wanted to live in each unit themselves and buy it together. So I was like, one wants to live upstairs, one wants to live downstairs, co-op the whole thing, and just own it together. I'm like, that's cool.
That's what they're looking to do.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Cool. You wanna talk about moving that money?
Yeah, I just wanted to convey it. You know, we already had the money market account. I talked to our banker and he said he'd give us 3.75%. So we moved half of the proceeds, roughly 150,000, into our money market account so we can get some interest on that while we are waiting for a use for
That's
it.
good,
We'll keep it there.
So just a treasurer's note, and only because I just went through this last year, make sure, as you get the bank statements,
Mhm.
because the way CDARs work, at least they do for Capital Bank, is that you don't get the interest until like at the end of your term, right?
Yeah.
Like at the maturity is what you realize,
Mhm.
like your dollar amount is. So just make sure that the accountant knows that somehow he needs to record that
Okay.
for his annual.
Does the money market have a maturity date?
I don't think so. I think it's just every month.
Yeah, just make sure that.
It's not a CD.
Okay, so just make sure that he's realizing the
Yeah,
interest
Mhm.
regularly, because
Oh,
that
so
was an
that's-
audit finding.
Oh,
It wasn't a
the
finding,
interest.
it was an
Right, right,
audit
right, right,
recommendation
right.
for us,
That makes sense.
because that way you know your cash,
Yeah.
not that it's a lot of money, but you know what I mean?
It's 500 a month.
Right.
So you're not locked into that?
Right, you can move the
Okay.
money, I can move more in there or less in there, but
Listen,
it's actually nice, it's linked to our QuickBooks. So every month when the interest hits, it's gonna say you have a transaction. So our bookkeeper just came out with a presentation for the board, believe it or not, like unannounced, this new bookkeeper. Well, we have the same firm, we got assigned a different account manager and she put out this document, which I guess I could just print. It's not the same stuff that I've been giving everybody. It doesn't have the reconciliation reports, but it has like the cash flow and it has the itemized stuff. You just have to see it from a journalized perspective instead of like a bank statement perspective.
Gotcha.
But she was really on me about like linking all the accounts, and she's like, "What's this transfer?" And I had to, the account we had it open at Pioneer, and since it had a zero balance, I took it off the balance sheet last year when I was like, the balance sheet's 4 pages long, and so all I had to do was press the active button on
That was it.
QuickBooks and then just link it to the Pioneer, and we were good.
Sweet.
And so now she has, when two accounts are linked to QuickBooks, there's a button that says match to another account. You just click the match button and it does the transfers for you and keeps it. Yeah, so it'll pop up as a transaction on the bank feed on QuickBooks where she's gonna need to solve that in order to feel like she can produce a reconciliation. So that's gonna happen.
375 on a money market is really good.
I think it's great.
I mean, you're talking almost close to CDAR rates.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really good.
That's Pioneer.
Yeah. She's probably happy.
Try to-
Money
my
market,
mind. Probably
my money
have-
markets are about 375.
No.
Yeah.
Key Bank is at 3.25 right now.
Yeah, he probably really happy we paid off the loan. I don't know.
Yeah. What's 404 that came up?
So Osgood, the Osgood neighborhood meeting happened last Tuesday, so geez, it's Friday right now, so 3 days ago. And they had reached out to me and said, hey, we're doing a thing on vacant buildings and we're gonna have somebody from the vacant building registry come down. It turned out to be Carlo. And so I cleared my schedule, went down there and I talked and I got a call from Tom Casey afterwards saying, I really like the land bank to pay attention to 404 4th Street. I'd really like to see it become an owner occupied house. And it's gonna get foreclosed on, I think, because it's stuck in the state. And I said, okay, well, I'll tell the board, but if we don't know about it ahead of time, we can't get through A&D and everything else.
Was that
So-
the Fourth and Tyler?
It's a good block.
No.
No, it's north, it's by St.
It's
Joe's.
Osgood,
Oh, it's
Right,
by
right
St.
near
Joe's.
Bonds,
Oh, okay,
down a block down from St. Joe's,
gotcha.
block down from Sunnyside, so even
All right.
further north than that, by Bonds. Yeah. So, right behind that is the old orphanage, the
Okay.
woods in the orphanage back there.
That's a good first time home.
Yeah, I think that was Tom's point, is that that neighborhood's a pretty stable neighborhood, and that block is pretty stable block,
It is.
and by of course, there's more to it than just somebody suggesting we keep our eye out on it, but that's up to you guys. That's what he had recommended, and so of course you guys can have your conversations with whoever you want, but I wanted to at least address it now so that that recommendation was made.
Bank owned?
No. Yes, it's a state owned, and
What is the block?
I guess the nephew is set to inherit it, but he doesn't have the capacity to execute that inheritance, and he hasn't paid the taxes in 3 years, so
Gotcha. Oh, so the foreclosure would be by the city?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and I expressed to everybody that, like, I'm concerned that foreclosures are gonna get more complicated with the
Yeah.
city, but it's certainly easier if we use some of our grant money to buy the properties. If there's something that, if somebody's willing to sell it and not risk or forfeit the surplus that could come from a sale, and just sell it to us, and we give them a little more than the taxes they're owed, then it's kind of like free market at that point, instead of, you get foreclosed on, you hope that it's assessed for higher. If it's assessed for higher, then the city has to make sure that money's set aside.
Yeah.
So in this case, the guy doesn't have title and it's in a state, and in order to get title, you have to settle the estate. And if you don't have capacity to settle the
You
estate,
can't, so, yeah.
so then it's gonna be in limbo until the city takes it over.
The 3 properties that burnt
Mhm.
on the corner,
Mhm.
does somebody own those?
Those vacant lots?
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. My mind's always been on that too. It'd be nice to replace those. But HCR just sent out a survey to
Oh,
me.
Madison and Fourth?
They sent out a survey to me saying, like, how many sites can you get your hands on if we, like, vacant sites to do infill, single family ranch style, they call it cross mod program, or like modular buildings, and for first time homeowners. And they're like, how many sites in the next 12 months can you get your hands on? It's like, when you say something like that, it makes me feel like maybe you're suggesting that there'd be a huge incentive for us to give you a lot of money to build modular homes. They want to buy them in bulk from somebody and just put them on foundations, I guess. So I think somebody owns them. I think somebody listed them for sale before, but I don't know where they're at now.
That would not be an appropriate site for that. What would be though, is, going out, Pauling Avenue at forget the guy's name, where the Taekwondo place is, and the manufacturing site.
Hmm.
It seems like.
Oh,
it's
across from
being-
the Winnie's?
No, right behind the old Parecas, right at Winter Street.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think they wanted to
Winnie's
sell
is right
that.
across.
They almost sold it
Yeah,
Across the
for
street.
sorry, yes.
Yeah.
over $250,000 there. And then
It would need some cleanup.
the estate came back and said, you didn't notify me, and so it got jammed back up in court. So the city owns it, but if somebody's contending they didn't get noticed.
It's like 22 acres.
Yeah,
Is it really?
but
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think,
we looked at the original guy, the guy, the dad. I worked with him way back when I was working for Lou, to try to develop that site. Cause remember that was where the original like, there was a grocery store that was slated to go there and then it went to Lions Go.
Right.
So and it goes on the other side of the creek
Is
too.
it dirty
The back side, probably not, the front side,
or the trucks, or the garages?
more where probably in the back is.
Gotcha.
But the front's got great,
It's awesome.
I mean, we did like a little site plan.
Did you?
And you could do some really cool, put the infill back on the street, like, so think about like current, like typical Troy, like 2 or 3 story along the street. And then we actually created like an opening in the building so that you could get into the back and there was parking and then you could literally put more homes back there.
You could do another Vander Hide Estates in the back there, like a
Yeah.
single family homes in the,
Correct.
in the back.
And then even back, like when you go on Winter, just past the creek on the left, like there's townhouses and condos back there.
That's
So it would be a similar makeup.
I think the intention behind the program is to do the infill sites in the dense city because of the sewer, the road is already there. Cause a lot of times they ask that in the question, like, are you planning to do any sewer or roads, upgrades in order to make this happen? That's in your packet, right?
That's in my packet.
Because that's a lot of money that.
Well, I have to, when I'm applying, for our grant money, that is one of the questions in the checklist that goes to HCR. And I'm always a check, no, we don't need to dig up sidewalks, we don't need power, et cetera, not for our projects,
Yeah,
currently anyway.
but the way they worded it, it's like, almost just like
The
this.
shovel-ready site is essentially what they want.
The buildings that burnt down. Like, honestly, that's the way this survey, and I'll screenshot it and send it to you just so that you can maybe interpret the same way, but it made me feel like that's what they wanted to do.
I mean, as long as they were modular in that they looked like, kind of like what Habitat's doing now, right? Like, it's not like a typical.
Yeah, was 814 a modular home? You would have known because it would have gone up in a day.
It is something that Habitat's doing in Albany right now.
Yeah,
They're along Orange
and
Street.
they want to do it on Park too with the property and we sold them.
So,
Yeah, as long as it's aesthetically fitting, aesthetically fitting modular is,
I mean, when
Great.
you think of a ranch modular,
I think of
you're
a-
thinking a double wide,
yes,
right?
yes,
Like,
Right.
no, it's just like,
100%.
right,
Yeah.
like you can see that, so.
Yeah, but
It'd be interesting, that would be like, again, you have to go back to the road thing, but
Yeah.
Leonard Hospital, that was exactly like the kind of thing you could envision for a Leonard Hospital.
yeah.
Yeah, here's the
The
language.
Habitat houses were sort of, kind of modular, but not like a double wide.
Yeah.
They had set pieces that they built off-site. and-
Yeah, but that might be what we're talking about.
Didn't Trip do that up on East?
That's what they want us to do.
Habitat
If
did.
there's already infrastructure there,
Across,
that makes
on
sense.
River, across from
No,
us.
on
The
East,
Surrey building, they call them.
yeah.
That's a grant they use, Surrey.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so are we able to, do we have a good enough relationship with the planning department to be able to identify with Sharon, like all the vacant lots in the city and then map it out, see if there's any commonality? We used to do that all the time,
Yeah,
cause she
Yeah.
can give you a list of vacant lots.
If it's sharing, I think that's
Yeah.
an easier ask.
well, I
Because
mean.
then we can just populate a Google map.
Well,
Yeah.
our goal will be like, how do we get site control? And so getting site control will be like, what does the city have available for sale that nobody wants to buy? Because last time they did a foreclosure list, it was all vacant lots.
Right.
So it's like, if we can identify how many are available for sale and the city's like, sure, we'll sell them to you because we know you're gonna execute state grant to put houses on it, which is honestly like putting a lot of tax dollars into the city.
I think that's a great approach to take to the city
Yeah.
and say, hey, there's this program out there, this is what it looks like.
And that gives us,
Something we can partner
yeah,
on.
we just need to put a number down on the survey, like, obviously, I'm thinking to myself, we have about 8 right now, sites. I would put 8, like, there's 4 that we're gonna probably have on 6th Avenue, even though they're only 25 foot wide. I don't know what kind of modular they wanna build, and I don't know if we can do all 4 of them. We might have to do some sort of adjustment, but then, we have 102 West Glen, 879, 881, so there's 4 more, but those are larger lots, or 3 more, but they're larger lots, so maybe they can be
Well, if we
adjusted.
could get that laid out where you're doing River Street and whatever alley that is on the back, if you could make.
Yeah, if you could split it and make it alley front facing.
If you could, I mean, how many lots is that? How many city lots is it right now?
Well, technically the space is, 3 lots.
3 lots.
So 3 lots, 50-foot frontage.
I think something, I think
it's
it's a little
50
more
or
than that.
more.
Probably 75 deep.
Yeah, and so really, if you
All of it.
compare it to Sixth Avenue, which is 100 for all 4 of them,
Yeah,
there's probably
yeah.
more like 8 lots. And if you did 8 front, 8 back, and you split it down the middle,
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If you could piggyback them, put
Yeah.
12 to 16
almost like what
units.
Habitat did on Bird.
Single family homes,
Yeah.
2-story
Yeah.
single family homes.
It's almost like a garden style.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's low maintenance for them, like they have lawn,
Mhm.
but it's not overwhelming lawn.
Which is really ideally that price point and that
Yes.
care aspect of it is where the entry market needs to be right now.
Mhm.
So I keep bringing it up. Habitat's project down by Marty Burks, right?
Yeah,
It
Bird.
was an eyesore for years. Habitat came in, made it look beautiful. I believe the back end, they're not able to keep up on it, right? There's so much maintenance for them. The trucks going by, they look beautiful at one time. Now with Roddy's trucks, everybody's trucks going by, right?
Mhm.
It's hard for them to maintain the front. The backyards are sloped, hard for them to maintain the back. That down there, if you give somebody a cookie cutter lawn
Mhm.
with a half privacy fence, like you got your own lawn, street front,
Yeah.
brand new house,
Yeah.
and it could be at the price point where
Mhm.
entry level people can
Yeah,
afford it.
and that's, to me, believe everybody believes it, but that's part of what we can do.
That's if we can create home ownership,
Especially in North Central, that would be tremendous for North Central.
Yeah.
Just as far as the financial and emotional investment. in
Are
North
we
Central.
allowed to build alley facing houses or?
I don't know with the current zoning.
that's why I asked. That's why I said if we can
I
get,
mean, but to be
Prove it.
fair, I mean, it's a variance, right?
Mhm.
It's not like it's.
yeah, that's where I was going. Like this,
I mean, you'd have to prove your points,
Yeah,
but
and
that's,
they did that.
Yeah,
down in
but you
Bird
know what,
Habitat.
you probably can,
So they
because
might have got it.
it
So
could be
it's been-
considered an accessory dwelling unit, which is totally within the confines of what the city wants.
or you could do,
what the state,
go-
And what the
so,
state wants.
so go back to what you just said, you could certainly sell a homeowner with a rental,
yeah,
Mhm.
right? A single family
Mhm.
with a garage and a.
Yeah.
and that cash flow allows them to be qualified for a larger mortgage as well.
Yeah, it would.
Right.
Goes to the bottom line.
And I mean, you can sell it as an in-law, or you can sell it as an ADU, that's it.
Any deal, yeah.
And so, yeah, in that survey, they also added in questions about like giving money for you to execute grant programs for people to fix their houses up to 120% AMI, which is very generous. Yeah, yeah.
These vacant lots that they asked, they don't have to be bundled, correct? They can be scattered, you can go from
Right. I
South
think
Troy
they,
Lakes.
I think they don't mind that. Yeah.
So then I think the logical ask is,
Yeah.
Oh. The bowling alley,
oh, wow. Yeah,
On 106th,
and you know what
Yeah.
else is going, that hardware stores,
yep,
that goes.
that's, yeah,
I mean,
Hardware
that would
store.
be,
Hardware circle's on fire too.
that would be.
That's a huge,
people are complaining that it's still vacant
Yeah,
and
that's a
nothing's
nice
happening
one.
with it.
Yeah.
And that would give, that's another probably high rental area,
No doubt.
that
Yeah.
would be another-
that's the Fifth Ave corridor, everybody's been crying for it to be redeveloped, right? Like Fifth Ave, when I was a kid, it was like there was store mom and pops, and people lived on Fifth Ave.
That would actually be another really good spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of, like to your point with that, there's a lot of efficient and really big bang spots. And I think that the capacity for our land bank, if we were to get a grant like this, I don't know that we would build more than 20 of them. I mean, if imagine having 20 modular homes being built at the same time, that'd be something new for the land bank, right? So,
Yeah, just a little bit.
That
right.
was when you would go out to RFP for a construction manager,
Yeah. So, but I guess my point is,
because then you do manage the construction manager.
yeah, but my point is just that I think we can come up with 20 sites pretty quickly to give them the information they need to see if they want to do a big cross mod program that makes it more efficient for land banks to get involved. So we give them their information
And this
See,
is,
let's see what they say.
Yeah.
Listen, they might be up saying like, how many can you come up with? We throw, just say we're able to throw 20 at it. All right, well, here, I'll fund 10 of them. Let's see what you can do
Right,
first.
right.
Like, let's see
that
what
may
you
be the
guys have.
case.
Yeah.
So I have like a crazy idea. Have we ever thought about getting either like the vacant building list, stuff that's not city low, not vacant, well, vacant building, but also the vacant lots, even if it's not city owned, working with the city to get the address of the ownership and then literally send them information on the land bank and
All
say.
vacant lots. You're not saying, you're saying any vacant lot in the
Anything-
city.
anything on a vacant
Just so
building
people
registry?
understand, and then it could be
Yeah.
public announcements with the mayor saying, the land bank is doing this initiative, as more funding for housing is coming available, we'd like to be able to offer up and make sure people understand that we're a non-for-profit organization.
Mhm.
We can work with you either through a donation basis or through a potential reasonable purchase piece, right? Like,
Yeah.
just so that information is out, because that's always the biggest challenge, is that the
How do you find
states, or, I mean, I would send it to every attorney that works on these kind of bankruptcy or estate law. I would even send it to them too. If you have clients with property in Troy, there is a solution for these properties. I don't know, it just,
It's a good idea.
in order to get to
People call
that,
all the time, you wanna sell your house, Jamie? Yeah, I mean, but this is nicer
but
because
it
it's a
would be
land
like
bank
it would be
versus.
like a
Yes,
brochure.
yeah.
Literally, you're sending a brochure out.
Is there, do you know if the assessor's office has the capability to pull up just vacant?
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, you could
It's
foil
public-
code,
it's
or I
public
could just go
information.
ask Carlo for it, but. you could-
I understand, I'm just saying,
no, yes,
does it says like if it's a vacant lot or a one
Sure.
family or two.
Oh, okay.
So she could put in vacant lots and then it'll spit
I
out.
think Monica's saying vacant buildings, right?
No, I
Or
think
you're saying
vacant
No,
lots.
vacant lots.
Vacant lots.
She's saying vacant
Yeah.
lots.
Okay.
Or both.
Well, yeah, or
because
both.
honestly, vacant lots too, even outside of like programs like what they're talking about right now and they're surveying, there's always the future habitat projects, there's always these kind of things where we can get homeownership back into the hands of people, so.
Yeah.
I mean, if we, I mean, that would be like the first step of getting information out, and then word will spread from that point. But
Yeah.
you're doing a good job getting to the neighborhood groups so that neighborhood leaders know that if they know somebody who's got a
Yeah.
vacant building, you know, I think it's just that, it's just trying to establish that ability and making sure people, because
Yeah,
a lot of people just
education,
don't
right.
understand land banks.
They don't. They don't.
I will
That's
tell you
true.
that, I know Business for Good, I met with them this week, in just in a bigger setting. Business for Good is literally really digging into the housing piece. So they're trying to figure out what housing looks like in the capital region, how can they help support that with their charitable givings and their initiatives that they're doing. They're pretty aggressive, so I know it's something that,
Business for good.
yeah, that they're the
I'm
ones
familiar
who bought like Hattie's, and so they have a for-profit piece and endeavor, and then they have a non-for-profit, and then the non-for-profit
That's in
is-
the news today.
Yes, Hattie's, right.
Yes.
So, you know,
Not in a
they,
good way.
no, it is a good way.
I thought that the restaurant's closing down.
I know, but they're because they're gonna reopening it as a workforce development training site.
Okay.
It's gonna reopen in July.
Oh, that's
All right.
Yeah,
I just thought I
so
had one,
Jennifer
that's
from the Seat Center is who I'm working on workforce development.
Gotcha.
But she also has a construction piece, she's got HVAC, I mean, she's got a waiting list for HVAC. She churns out people to
You know, they
Chris
finished,
Foley and Grass.
they finished, 791 for us, right? See,
Did they?
yeah,
That's great.
Suzanne engaged with them, I believe.
Well, I mean, they're
Maybe Heather
trained.
did, I don't know. Yeah, no, they.
No, I didn't do any actual I just checked up on it once in a while.
Yeah, but you were vice chair and acting chair during when I started last year, and I walked in, they said, okay, somebody's gotta tell us where the hot water tank goes and we can get to work, so. Okay.
I've blanked all that from my mind.
No, they were good, they were responsive and, you know.
I had no clue what I was doing.
No, I just, I just think that there's a lot of, I think the other piece too is I just, I forget what city it was, but I think it was Greensboro. actually did this really great housing strategy, stuff I've been talking about for years, what municipalities need to do and what funders need to request from cities, but it's like 178 pages and it went into the census data and, this area is 95% owned, rental, so we need to balance it out, and they have target goals as far as how many homeowner properties they wanna put into the city. It was really detailed, really, really detailed. It was fabulous.
Nice.
Brad, A&D committee, let's talk about what we unbanked and what we moved.
I mean, number one is we have no current project at 785 River Street, so A&D committee is recommended to unbank it with the restriction that we wouldn't entertain any applications till at least the August meeting, if any come in. So that way it's 45 days from the time that it would be voted on Monday to, it's not really 45, it's probably more like, it's gonna be the 11th of July, so it's actually gonna be more like it's gonna be August, so then it's probably gonna be a little bit more than that because of our early meeting, but that way there's nobody that, gives a lot of people time to see that it's available. We haven't decided, A&D didn't recommend whether we go with a real estate agent or not, I don't believe. It was just more to unbank it, list it for sale on the website.
I think I think Brian and I were more prone to do the 30, leave it on for 30 days, and if we don't get any bites.
Yeah.
So if in that case, if till August, we're not accepting bids, if by at that August meeting, if we don't decide on to sell or award that, I think maybe at that point we would go to a realtor.
We have 32296 Sixth Avenue at 25,000. It's gonna inevitably come up, what are we gonna list it for? I believe the roof was 20,000, and cleaning out debris was 8,000.
On 785?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're into it for 28.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not saying we gotta get every dollar back, but
Yeah, we're in 19.2 plus another 7,800, yeah. about
So roughly
20,000.
30 grand, roughly.
right.
With
That's what-
carrying costs and all the stuff, right?
Yeah, of course,
Sure.
we have to, we planted grass out back. we've been
Yeah,
mowing it.
we're more than just those two,
Which,
especially, we didn't just get this thing last.
no, I think we've had it for 10
Right.
years. And
Yeah.
I think this is a celebration, the idea of unbanking it, because a year
We held
ago,
on to it.
a year and a half ago, it was set for demolition.
Yeah.
So the fact that somebody might buy it,
I think
three
yeah.
units, it's viable. It's more like a 2 plus maybe one in the basement. That's what 3230 is. It's 2 units if you walked in, and then
Right.
the basement is a dirt floor, technically a third unit, but it's a dirt floor. You got a heavy lift on that versus the other ones already have the
In
infrastructure.
785 in the basement, they basically took some wood framing and they covered the dirt with it.
Yeah,
And they had a unit in there at
yeah,
one point
and
in
it's,
time.
but it is
Well,
zoned 3 family.
It's right.
Well,
So,
somebody,
It's basically-
obviously somebody with the resources, number one.
Yeah.
But somebody with the resources and the vision would turn that basement apart. They dig it out, get your 74 inches or more,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, 84 inches or better ceiling height down there and put a third unit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's up to somebody if they wanna do it. Like I said,
But I think
I'm just
that-
happy to see that it's,
Not being demoed.
yeah,
And I think that story is told if and when we award this to a buyer,
yeah.
like that story should be told. This was on the demo list not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
now-
that would have been 50,000, we spent 30 and now it's investable to somebody.
And there's potentially 3 families.
Right. So the purchase price is gonna have to be determined at the board meeting and whether you list it. And if, I would say that listing it with the agent's gonna make it probably better for vision wise, like
Okay.
visual, like if people look at it, they're like, how come everything's listed with the agent except this one?
Yeah.
That's gonna be a unique thing about this listing. So if we wanna do another resolution to also list it with CDC, I can do that for Monday. I could pull that from our last one. It's up to you guys.
I
Thoughts?
think you're listed.
Listed with a Realtor?
Yeah,
Let them deal with the process.
Well, and the interesting thing is, it's not necessarily them deal with the process, because we still deal with the whole thing. Pretty much everybody just calls me and I have to educate them on our process, which is why that website page I made is great, because I'm like, so I can do this with you, don't mind educating you, but there is a website, you could read most of it, and it'll cut our phone call down by 20 minutes. I mean, I'm on the phone for like 35, 40 minutes with some of these people, their questions, because it's unique. It's not like, I'm gonna give you a great offer, will you accept? It's like, I can't accept it, the committee does. Well, do you think I can get a discount? I mean, if you wanna put in a discount, that's fine, but the committee's gonna look at all of them together. So like, they're gonna take your discounted price with your story that you, well, do I have to give you every number for everything? If you don't have to, but you can. If you do, they're gonna think that you've thought it out, and if you don't, they're gonna think that you might not know what you're doing. And the number that you put there is gonna be the number you show your financials. Well, can I give you my pre-approval letter? Okay. Will the bank finance a construction loan on something where we have a lien on it? I don't know your banker, you might wanna call them and ask that question. So it's like, 40 minutes in, so, and Paul showed 3230,
Yeah.
they don't
Right.
wanna get a real estate agent to go to look at it, because the real estate agent doesn't want the 1,000 or.
It's the minimum commission.
Well, they'll have to pay the difference to the real estate agent with that new real estate law. Like,
Right.
if they get an agent, the agent's like, I'm gonna make 1,000 if I show this and you might win it. That's when I get 1,000 from the land bank, because that's what our contract says. And then it might say, okay, well, I want you to pay me the other 3,000 if I go with you, or they just hire, or call the land bank and have Paul and Brad and go show it. And so we're out there showing them too. So, but I think the thing that listing it does is there's a huge influx of interest in the land bank.
Totally.
We're the only place that has anything under 50,000 or under 100,000 really in the city right now. And on top of all that, it makes it look like the property is for sale for anybody who's interested. And when we get an application, we might spend $3,000 on bill for listing it, and we sell it to somebody, but at least we know that everyone was on the MLS for a whole month. So.
And that's the other thing, the PR value that the MLS creates for the land bank is pretty valuable.
No,
At the
exactly.
end of the day, so to list it, again, it just keeps the TCLB name out there.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to getting it out to everyone.
Mhm.
It's not people who just know about the land bank.
Right.
Right.
Right,
That's
It
my
takes the
point.
exclusivity out of it.
yes.
Mhm. It makes it more open, more
Open,
transparent. So,
Yes, I think the recommendation would be to create a resolution for that.
okay.
For next.
I'll put it
For
on there.
Monday, sorry.
Yeah, resolution, so it'll be an unbanked, but then there's another resolution that will drop. Resolution to unbank, well, unbank and sale, but then the other resolution to list with
To list with CBC.
CBC. And then the second one, I think we've already kind of gone over it, resolution to bank the development site at 879, 881, 102 West Glen. To the points that we made earlier, the AD had the same vision as, HCR keeps putting out funding for different sort of spec builds. And so if we have development sites set aside, we can develop one. Board topics for old business, 332 Ninth Street, no news, although Paul and I both attended the SIP for Trip.
Yeah.
And
Did you see Noah?
yeah, we saw him.
Yeah,
Sure. Noah came down here, he's talking our ears, everything's real good, everything's going well. Eventually they're gonna give us a letter letting us know what they are offering us to buy it.
Their intentions.
Yeah. So we'll see what their intentions are. But no news yet, except, we're doing our work in terms of at least.
Well, the good thing is we don't need it right now, right?
Right, we got enough projects.
We got enough to do.
Yes,
We're working on the velocity component.
The only thing I would like, if it's something that it continues to be on agendas, right? And we continue talking about it.
Yeah.
And it's something that the board as a whole wants to pursue with acquiring from them. My recommendation would be not to let these guys get into December, January of awarding it to us, because then the reality is once it's ours, that problem that me and you walked in on
Mhm.
earlier in the year is gonna be our problem, not Tripp's problem.
Yeah,
The ice, like, so if we do buy it, I'd like to get the thing on the type,
yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
Because to address that roof issue, roof drain issue, whatever, we're assuming it's a roof drain, right?
Yeah.
Like same thing happened at Park
Mhm.
Ave. Strip is not gonna address that.
Right.
This month, next
I
month.
mean, if the roof is not leaking, which I don't know if I saw the roof.
I don't think it is roof. I think
It
it's the
was-
roof drain is snapped.
It was 2,500 for us to do park, so we can get the water draining.
And all I'm saying is if we can, maybe once every couple weeks,
Yeah,
shoot Noah a little, hey,
yeah, well, that was,
the board's asking
we
about it.
went to, went
That's
to the event, he knows that
We're doing that just casually.
I mean, we can't force them to sell.
No, of course
We know
not,
they
of course
move at a snail's
But
pace.
we're
And you
doing that
remember, I mean,
casually.
I'm saying is that Albert said that, we hadn't sold 791, and that was like part of the whole, like, if you take this on, sell 791, he pretty much said if you sell 791, it establishes that you have the ability to see a project through. And so I think he's seen that, and I think he's got more confidence in us. Albert's the board president, Trick, and he was our treasurer, so, before, so. That was
Yeah.
yeah. So we did it, we sold it. Which is the third thing here.
Yay.
And then the second thing is the conflict of interest policy, but I think we're waiting for Michelle to get back from maternity leave.
And that's just something she sent it to all us board members
Well, I think that's the next thing after the bylaws. I think that's something
that she's on.
that she's on. I think that we're working on. So it's really,
Standard document.
Yeah.
yeah, it's standard except the nuance to like property sales or, just making sure that our old policy.
She's updating what we used to sign every year.
We
correct?
have a policy, and the policy, I think, as we get better at being a land bank and better at being an authority, and we have more qualified board members and those sort of things. Like even to Stacy's point, Stacy's resigned since, but she needed more clarity on like
What she can do.
what her family's business is able to provide for the land bank versus, certain things or like when you can buy property or not buy property or, like, for instance, I told people at Osgood, I said, you guys are recommending 404 4th Street. I own 412 4th Street. I don't want to make it look like I'm sending the land bank to go buy a piece of property on a street I own to make my building look better. That's not so I said, if you guys genuinely feel this way, I said to Tom Casey as well, because everybody was discussing, I said, you guys should be reaching out to people on the board or anybody on the board so that the board hears from you directly about this. And so,
In essence, so he's not pitching it.
yeah,
Correct. So I also think it could be beneficial. I mean, everybody that's on the board now has been in the mix, but future pieces, because of the uniqueness of the land bank, it might be beneficial. It's a stretch, but it would be beneficial for whoever is the appointing entity to actually recommend before the official appointment, the potential board member and you sit down and have a
Yeah.
conversation, right? So then it's not an official appointment, it's been voted on,
Yeah.
and then all of a
Right.
sudden they're like, oh, wait, right? That
Yeah.
there's that conversation ahead of time about the commitment, about like all of it. It's kind of like what Andrea did with me,
Mhm.
right? Andrea reached out to me, I had a half an hour conversation with her, this is the time commitment, this is what we do, this is our mission, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And then she was able to take that and think about it and see if it was something for her.
Yeah.
That would be really important because I think there's so much just, oh, this person wants to be involved, so I'm gonna appoint them to this entity, right? Not necessarily thinking about, does it align with the
Is it a
person's
fit?
values or their passions or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Right.
Certain appointments seem to be made to elevate somebody's resume, not necessarily to help the city in a whole.
But I think it would be important and it would save it would be more efficient if they had the opportunity to sit and talk to you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
making sure people understand that there is a commitment, like, as far as like attendance.
So I'm gonna write that down as like a sort of appointment process recommendation, because of course, I mean, I don't know that the board can't reject an appointment made,
No,
right?
but if you can have a conversation with somebody, they have the ability to say, you know what, I'm not gonna be able to
Yeah.
fulfill that, and go back to whoever their appointing entity is.
Yeah,
And say, I don't think this is gonna work.
right, but then there's always gonna be the chance that an appointed entity, whoever it be, the school board, mayor, or city council, wants somebody on there and isn't so worried what the land bank board existing thinks about it, especially if they think the board is going in a direction that doesn't follow the entities.
No, absolutely,
So
and I understand.
that's why I said recommendation, but I can create a process that I can provide to those appointing entities and say, this is our recommendation that you guys can adopt as a strong policy, but of course, it's their appointment to make, so.
Or it's just it's our policy, right? They appoint, they vote, they give them to us before he or she comes to their first board meeting or committee meeting.
Mhm.
They come in here, sit down with you, you explain to them what we do, what our mission is, what the expectations of them are. Then the ball's put in their court. And if they might have just
I'm trying
council
to,
person or,
well, but I would like to actually do that ahead of the
Yeah,
appointment.
but then we gotta get, I agree, that
You gotta-
ideally
I
that.
mean,
you gotta
this is
get the-
partnership, this is about
Yeah.
partnership with your municipality
Yeah.
and
Yep.
your appointing authorities. So.
So that's why you said this is a stretch, while you led with. Okay.
No, but I think it's really imperative for efficiency, because then
Yes.
if that situation, like
Mhm.
just this most recent, it doesn't work out, now we're again
Yes.
months without a board member, and we have a quorum requirement,
Yeah.
right? So, like, I think it would help process along, because then if somebody was like, yeah, that's not my cup of tea,
Mhm.
or they don't interact well with you, or they're like, oh crap, this is who's on that board, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I think that would help save time, and then they can go back and they can say, you know what, I'm not.
Which, to be fair, Stacy did call me ahead of accepting the appointment. She did do that work.
Okay.
I think Stacy's big thing is she got a different job, and the job wouldn't allow her the freedom to come to the board meeting. That, and I also have a sense when we were walking with Tamara and Bill to look at the price of the properties, she started seeing some of the buildings we had, and she's like, oh, okay. You're typical, like 99% of people would walk into some of these buildings and say, okay, this needs to be torn down.
Sure.
And then, of course, people will pay tens of thousands of dollars for that same thing. But the context she had, she just wasn't from the world of like seeing that and seeing the redemptive qualities in the same capacity that I guess I had. She had nothing but positive things to say, but I just feel like she got the job and she's like, okay, I think I can just focus on the job. I don't know what I'm adding otherwise.
And the reality is that's gonna be most of the appointments, right? A lot of people, this is a very small niche group of people that see other properties we have and like, all right, we can make this nice again, right?
Yeah.
Well, the vision.
That's what I mean, yeah.
A lot
Like,
of
there's
people
not a lot of
can't
people that have, they can't see it. And it's not a flaw. They just,
It's a rare
like, there's a lot of things that they do that we can't.
Mhm. Yeah.
How does this suggestion look though? Do we suggest this to council and to the mayor's office?
And the school
This
board,
process in
I
school
mean,
board?
have we gotten a new appointment?
from the mayor now.
So
So
that
we have
could
one
be a
mayor
great
in
introduction.
Lansingburg, yeah.
Right, that could be a great introduction to this, say,
Yeah.
just so we can establish a common.
Yeah.
Whatever ahead of time.
I guess my ask is this something that they have to adopt into their? Then it's not
It's
so
a
much of a stretch.
suggestion.
Yeah, it's not a stretch.
I think it's more like just saying to somebody, if you adopt this process,
Yeah,
we think it will help whoever you appoint succeed.
correct.
And so it helps you
Okay.
and it helps us. You don't actually have to make an appointment.
Right.
If the person hears a little bit about what we're doing and they say, oh, that's not for me, then you just made an appointment officially.
It saves them from
Yeah,
being touched as well.
I would say.
Yeah,
that. Saves
and so-
them a ton of time.
and you spin it that way. But I mean, there's also the element where I think that, some of these appointing bodies are leaning on us as an organization to sort of give them recommendations, and then those recommendations, they vet themselves in terms of who they think will execute their vision for what the land bank should be as well, so.
Which isn't an uncommon practice.
Okay, that's it, unless you wanna talk more about 791.
Nope.
We're done.
I mean,
It's on.
791 is,
Well, no, I
It's gone.
talked to the new owner, and he said maybe in a couple weeks he'll have some time and we can do like a
We
photo.
we would like to.
Well, I bought this gold
Right
key.
behind you,
And
Mike.
then I
yeah,
found- and then I found this in the drawer
Nice.
over here, and I'm like, well, which one do we give him? This key, or- my gold key I got on
Well, there's a
Amazon
gold one
for
behind you.
$16. It says sold on it.
Yep.
I don't know which one we get.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, the
Doesn't
wood
matter.
one.
The what do you like that?
that's wall art.
Is it? All right, yeah.
I mean,
So-
they can hold that for the picture, but they can't add that.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's it, unless we have anything old or new to discuss. Anyone? So our next executive committee, is it still going to be July 11th?
Yeah, so A and D is gonna meet at 8 AM.
Oh,
and
that's right,
Executives
correct.
meet at 8:30.
Okay.
So we'll have one live stream,
Yep.
just keep it going.
Okay,
And I assume A and D is going to be awarding some contracts for people to buy at that meeting.
okay,
For the July, to approve on Wednesday, because we tabled one application, so.
Yep.
You know, if
To give more time.
to give more applications and
Right.
give more time. And so I know that one's tabled, one complete application's tabled,
Mhm.
so if we get more, then of course there'll be a recommendation, of course, and if they don't get more, there'll at least be that recommendation,
Sure.
I assume, I don't know. So, yep, right after, one after the other.
okay. Then can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.